I was first welcome. So this is our webinar, Want to Know More About, and we're talking about keeping well at home, older people in Leeds. So first of all, well done for getting in. We were concerned about tech issues, but people have got in, so well done on the first hurdle. So my name's Rachel, I work in public health, and we've got some colleagues with us today who are going to be jointly presenting and asking and answering questions as we go along. So I'll just introduce who's here, and then I'll do a little bit of housekeeping and tech type issues. So we've got Rachel Cairns, who works in Active Leeds. She's the Health Development Officer. We've got Carol Wright with us, who also works in Active Leeds. She delivers on the Strength and Balance programme, or coordinates the Strength and Balance programme. So really good opportunity to be able to ask Carol some questions later on. We have Sharon Hughes, who works with me in public health and leads on falls and falls prevention. And we've also got Jo Brayshaw, who is the clinical falls specialist, working in the community falls service at Leeds Community Healthcare. I'm hoping I've got all of that right. So we're going to be in the webinar this morning for about an hour, hopefully. I'm just going to go through some tech type issues first of all. So everybody is muted and videos are switched off, so we can't see or hear anybody, but we will be having a question and answer session towards the end. We've also turned the instant message off, so you won't be able to write anything as we're talking, but like I say, you will be able to log some questions. Having a look at your screen now, towards the bottom, there should be two tabs. One says presentation, which is the document we'll be working through and the slides that we'll be working on. And next to that is a tab that says Q&A. So if you have a click on that, you should be able to write any question. And then we can some of us can either answer it written on the screen, or we'll come back to that and we'll read some of the questions out, and some of the people on the call will hopefully be able to answer your question. If you go onto the question and answer section, you do need to go back onto the presentation so that you can follow as we go along. I'm hoping I'm explaining this well enough. We are recording some of this as well. We're recording our voices just so that we can turn this into a YouTube clip. So anybody, if you've got any colleagues you'd like to share this with, or if you've missed anything, we'll send you a link to where this sits on YouTube afterwards. And on the same YouTube channel, there are some other videos about physical activity and some sort of different key messages. So there'll be one about children and families, and some others to come, potentially pregnant women, and some general population messages as well. On that note, we will make the slides available, so we've got everybody's email address. We will send the slides out afterwards. I'm very conscious I'm talking quickly, so I'm going to try and slow down a little bit. So if you've missed anything, please ask a question, or we can send or follow up with anything afterwards. The second half of this, we've got some videos embedded in the presentation. So Rachel's going to talk through how to play the videos, because you will have to play them yourselves. But hopefully we'll make that really nice and clear so that you'll all be able to follow the videos as well. So a quick reminder, at the bottom left, you've got presentation and Q&A, so just to flip between those at any time. Second slide. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about physical activity and older people in Leeds, and some of the issues or some of the support and resources that we've got available in Leeds to support you in your roles, to support some of our most vulnerable communities. Just put this at the start. This was something that I saw on social media ages ago, and it really resonated with me. We've heard a lot of people during COVID kind of saying, oh, we're all in the same boat. I don't think we are at all. We're all in the same storm, but I think it's safe to say, or fair to say, we're all in completely different boats. And by that, I think we've all got absolutely different living circumstances, different working patterns. And I think how COVID's affected us, we are all in this together, but we are all living in very, very different circumstances. And everybody we visit or meet or see through a service is potentially dealing with something very, very different. So I just wanted to put that really, really clearly at the start. By staying at home and by staying away, we've all been protecting our friends and our families and communities. And this, again, in terms of being in a different boat, has been really, really challenging for some of our most vulnerable communities, but also some of our more resilient communities as well. So just to be clear as well, that I think some of the messages that the government have been, and I'm sure people can all resonate with this, some of the messages that the government have put out have been really, really confusing, particularly, again, to some of our older communities who might not be as well connected through social media, who might not be seeing friends and family. I think we can all probably resonate with the fact as well, if we try and watch the news every day, it can really, really confusing and really challenging. So it's really important for us to keep active, but to keep our minds and our bodies well. So today we're focusing on how to keep our bodies well as we're staying at home. I think we're going to open up to, so today's an opportunity really for us to share resources and support and opportunities we've got available in the city to help you. And what we're trying to do is support people to become or remain as active as they can. So what we'd like to do is open up a poll, just so that people aren't sat having a nap or painting their nails, is what I'd like everybody to do is they can see a poll in front of them. If you could click on the circle that you think is the right answer. So what percentage of adults in England, in the UK, report that they achieve the government recommendations for physical activity? So do we think it's 26%, 52%, 67% or 93%? So if everybody could vote in the next 30 seconds what they think the answer is, and then we will reveal the answers and discuss that a little bit more. So I'll just whiz through. So we've got here that 60% of people today think that 26% of people achieve the recommendations. We've got 17% think that 52% achieve them, and 25% think that 67% of people achieve them. That's quite a mouthful and quite complicated. Thank you. So the actual answer is that 67% of people in the UK report that they achieve the government recommendations, and we're going to go a little bit further into what the government recommendations are. There are loads of challenges with this data, so although it sounds great that lots of people are meeting the recommendations, actually in Leeds we've got around 20% of people, so that's a fifth of our population, who are doing less than 30 minutes of physical activity in a week, and that's split between bouts of 10 minutes or more. So although we've got a decent amount of people who are reporting they do lots of activity, we've actually got a lot of people who are achieving minimal amounts of physical activity. So this is basically the government recommendations. So this is what people are reporting, saying that they are doing. Hopefully people can see this, but the government recommends for health benefits we should be aiming to achieve 150 minutes of moderate intensity per week, or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity per week, or a mixture between those. I think it's safe to say that everyone's got a sort of a different perception of what moderate or vigorous can be. Moderate intensity activity is that we should be able to have a conversation as we're being active. So that could be a nice brisk walk. It could be a gentle exercise class. And when we talk about vigorous intensity, we tend to say that you can't sing doing it. So for me, I cannot sing as I'm running down the street. Big focus when we talk about older people is about spending at least 2 days of the week doing some activities that build strength. So these are activities to keep our muscles, our bones and our joints nice and strong. And these could be specific sort of participation activities in classes, such as going to the gym or doing yoga, or it could be carrying heavy shopping bags or taking the stairs a little bit more often. What we also should be doing is minimising our sedentary time, and then also doing activities, you'll see the bottom right-hand corner, to improve our balance. And we'll be able to ask our colleagues later a little bit more about activities that we can do to improve our balance. So just in terms of COVID, so we'll probably all appreciate that over the last 3 or 4 months, we've had a lot of these opportunities taken away from us, particularly people who are in our shielded cohort. So in Leeds, we've got about 44,000 people who've been advised to shield. So that's a huge population of people who've been asked really to stay home kind of most of the time and not to be getting out doing their activities and doing their exercises. We've also, if we think about the types and places that people participate, we've had our parks shut, we've had our gyms shut, our swimming pools shut, playgrounds closed. So lots of places and venues that are often quite supportive environments for people to carry out these activities have been closed, and people have had that taken away from them. When I talked about same storm, different boat, if we think about some of the living conditions and some of the housing that our more vulnerable populations are in, some people might not have had gardens that they can go out and be active in. Some people might be in flats and might not be able to climb the stairs more often. So in addition for it being challenging in terms of our health and well-being, we've had lots of challenges environmentally where these opportunities to be more active have been taken away from us. it's not all doom and gloom. We are going to get a little bit more positive. So I think the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to have a whiteboard. So Colin's going to open up a whiteboard, and hopefully you can now see a whiteboard, and it asks what are the benefits of being active. So this is for everybody in the room now to use the tools on the right hand side to scribble down, whether that's pictorial or in writing, some of the benefits that we feel there are to being active. So you can see people are writing, so if you could scribble anything down anywhere about some of the benefits to being active, go for it. Okay, so if we can leave the whiteboard up, technology is okay so far. Just to whiz through what some people have written here then, so reduce the risk of certain cancers. So yeah, we can reduce the risk of quite a few cancers actually. Physical activity appears in quite a lot of long-term condition and health pathways. So we can reduce the risk of breast cancer by up to 20%, and of colon cancer by up to 30%. Someone's put about reducing the risk of heart disease. Absolutely true. Some people use physical activity for weight control, and that can be both ways as well. Can provide us with more energy, make us feel better, helps you feel better in yourself and less sleepy. Absolutely. So it can provide more energy. Can also help us sleep better. Someone's writing that as I'm speaking. Increase our blood flow, strengthen our bones, reduce our risk of falls, and improve our mental health and well-being as well. So, like I say, there are many benefits physically in terms of physical activity. So yeah, in addition to that, we can reduce our risk of diabetes by up to 40%. Particularly relevant, and I hope this is still the case because of the people on this call, we can reduce our risk of hip fractures by up to 68% potentially. And then something that I think, I've definitely learned myself over the last 4 months is having that sense of purpose or even a routine. And I think if we think about some of our more vulnerable populations, it's an opportunity to meet people, to see people, to get outside, to kind of see the blue sky and the green grass to make us feel a little bit better. Can help us concentrate, can help us socialise, can help us reduce stress. And then there's those broader things about being outside as well to help us get our vitamin D intake, for example, as well, and not be stuck inside. So again, there's been lots of opportunities to be active, but we also have to be really mindful that some of the communities we work with have really had some of these opportunities taken away. So today's session, like I say, we're going to look at some information, support and resources that are available for people who have been staying at home and continue to stay at home. Just checking I am following the right slides as I go along. Thank you very much. So I've just put this slide up here really just to highlight some of the inequalities as I've talked about here. So where people haven't had gardens, or where people have had their facilities or their local parks closed, or where people have been asked to shield, it's going to have had a massive impact on the activity that they can do, and that they've potentially been motivated or supported to do. So in addition to reducing our activity, we know that many people will have had longer screen time, might have had more irregular sleep patterns, might have been drinking alcohol more, might have been changing their diet considerably, may have been gaining weight or losing weight unintentionally, as well as losing their physical fitness. So we've got lots of things we need to be dealing with as people come out of shielding and as people start to get more active. I think probably a lot of people have heard people say, so COVID has not been the great leveller. There are inequalities that have really, communities have really been disproportionately affected. So we know in Leeds, the stark reality is that 95% of those people who've lost their lives to COVID have been older people. And for some, simply being older is their sole risk factor for COVID. So it can have felt quite hard and quite uncomfortable for people who might have been particularly fit, active and social to be told to stay home just for their own safety. So I think we've all got a role to play in supporting people who've been at home or shielding or unable to access facilities. I think it's really clear as well in terms of people having their physical activity opportunities taken away from them. They've also had their freedom just to walk to the shops. And if we think about those 150 minutes in a week in bouts of 10 minutes, just a walk to the shop has been somebody's physical activity, and just carrying their shopping has been their strength and balance exercise. And if that's taken away, people aren't then achieving those. And we know lots of people, although it's been fantastic to have food delivered to them and support packages available and volunteering opportunities, it's potentially taken away those activities of daily living that some people would have been seeing those benefits from. So in terms of being less active, in terms of being less active, people might have started thinking about or hear the word deconditioned kind of banded around. And I think when we talk about deconditioning, we need to think about it in its broadest sense. So when we talk about deconditioning, we're talking about people's lack of confidence and the reduction in their ability to perform activities of daily living. So we know that being less active, people will have had more muscle loss. We know that their cardiovascular fitness is likely to have reduced, potentially leading to shortness of breath. We know that people probably feel less confident, and we know that their mobility and flexibility is likely to have reduced. So we know that if people then have an instance of an infection or something different, their ability to bounce back is likely to have reduced. Just conscious of the time. So last little bit in terms of frailty, we know that during COVID, people living in Leeds with frailty haven't accessed urgent care for acute events, so e.g. falls. They haven't been seen for their routine care, so long-term condition review or dementia support. They've been significantly impacted by grief and fear, and they will not readily come back to health and care services. So we've got lots of people, and we're all in a great position with our infrastructure in Leeds to go out and support people in being more active. And I don't like saying get back to normal, because it's a new normal and it's very different. So we've all got a great job that we can play within that. I'm going to move on to, I'm going to hand over to Rachel, who's going to discuss a little bit more about resources, services and support we have available in Leeds.
Lovely, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all keeping well. As Rachel says, you're with me for a little while. I'm going to give you a very sort of brief whistle-stop tour of Active Leeds. You may or may not be aware of some of the services or programs that we have running. Fingers crossed technology doesn't fail me today. If I do sort of disappear or anything, the other presenters can let me know, so they can, if fingers crossed my internet holds up. So in Leeds, obviously we have a vast network of support services, both in the third sector and in our community infrastructure, as Rachel says, in the parks. And within Active Leeds, Active Leeds is one area that looks to provide a variety of services to help people, or all sort of target audiences or population groups across the communities and across the city to be more physically active. My area of work is working within Active Leeds health programs team alongside my colleague Carol. And we work obviously with older adults with long conditions, and we support other services as well. So this slide just provides, as I said, a bit of a brief overview of some of the programs that we've got that were in operation before COVID. And at the minute, we're sort of working at a bit of a restart on what they're going to look like, as Rachel is, for the new normal. So we've got our Strength and Balance class, which was a 20-week program, and it was to help any sort of frailer individuals who are at risk of a slip, trip or fall. We had our aquamobility classes that took place across a number of different leisure centres, so it was very low impact pool-based sessions. We also had our health referral programme, and again these also took place in the leisure centres. We've had health Pilates and health yoga that was on the health Tai Chi that had just started. So all being well, we will sort of look and try to restart those as we're able to, I suppose. We did have a program called Escape Pain. That was a 6-week program for people with osteoarthritis in their hips and knees. We had our Leeds Let's Get Active referral program, and this is for individuals with lower levels of mental health. And these services they can refer themselves, or other services like 1U or the National Diabetes Prevention Program could signpost into. We also have our Leeds Let's Get Active community. We've just started this week new outdoor sessions, and they've just commenced across several different parks. So in Armley, Cross Flats, Temple Newsome and Middleton. These sessions consist of mind and body sessions and no impact type circuit activities. Now they are all standing exercises. I just want to sort of put that out there. So there may be some audiences that might not cater for at the moment. We also have our We Are Undefeatable, which is a campaign. You may or may not have seen it on some adverts on the TV. It is a national campaign that we're managing on a local level, and it's encouraging individuals living with long-term conditions to be more active and demonstrating the benefits of being active. Now, that is a very quick sort of whistle-stop tour, and apologies if I've gone a little too fast. But if there's any questions, as Rachel says, please feel free to put into the Q&A. That there's never a silly question to ask, and we don't mind getting asked loads of questions. So within this slide, again, I just want to give a bit of an update on our response to COVID. So we created a new Healthy at Home and Long-Term Condition page on our Active Leeds website. So if you do have a chance to sort of nip across, feel free to have a look. It's been broken down into different population groups and health, well-being and sort of mental health as well. And we've links in there with different services. If individuals are struggling during this time, they can access other wide range of services. And I suppose that's what the presentation is about today, is to provide you with sort of information, and hopefully it's new information. If it's not, and hopefully it's the same consistent messaging that we're giving you. We've also created lots of content on our YouTube channel. I think at the start of COVID we had very sort of small followers, and at the minute we seem to sort of steadily increase in that. So feel free again to have a look. It's been broken down into, well, at the minute it's been broken down into condition specific channels as well. So at the minute we're working on a cardiac rehab playlist. We do have ones for individuals who might be at the very start of their sort of physical activity journey. So the exercises are there and catered to accommodate that as well. It might be for individuals who have been been able to sort of keep active during this time. So again, we've tried to accommodate for as many sort of audiences as we can. But if there's something there that you do wish to see, again, feel free to let us know. We within sort of the We Are Undefeatable campaign, as previously mentioned, so you might see that on our website page as well. We've also got our physical booklets. Well, we've got the PDF version online, and that'll be the booklet that we're going to be talking about today, or the resource. So that'll be discussed as part of today's training. If there's any sort of information that you wish to sort of hear about leisure centres, like for when they're reopening, at the minute we're doing a bit of a phased-in approach. So at the moment we have Hull Park, Armley, John Smeaton, Morley, John Charles and Airborough that have opened, the gym provisions only. Obviously we're waiting on further guidance with regards to pools, etc. On our social media pages we do have videos of how the leisure centres now look, what you need to do before going and what happens during your visit. We also have provided a Leeds Let's Get Active video that we've just sort of launched this week as well. So this is our outdoor sessions. So it gives you an idea again of what happened before, during, after, and make sure that you're safe at all times. So feel free to jump across and have a look. So obviously one of the activities that we know that lots of people are really keen to get out and about is obviously walking. It's not just about accessing our services, but people will be wanting to sort of get up and walk in groups and encourage and support people to get out and walk just that little bit more. Obviously we work and liaise with the Walking for Health, the Ramblers Association. They have produced guidelines for safe and effective walks, and that's what we're really trying to encourage as part of today, is that any activities that they are safe and they're there to look after your own well-being as well. This is now, so the guidance is now available on their website. It is entirely free and includes information on structured ramblers and walking for health activities. Although this group is about delivery, there may be some helpful points in the risk assessments to consider planning any walks. And if you do need any assistance with any sort of starting up any walks, feel free to get in touch with myself, and we can look to try and support you as best that we can. We know that Public Health are developing a short guide to support any walking activity that's in line with the government recommendations as well. So as you're aware, groups can now meet outdoors in groups of up to 30, but also following the government guidelines on social contact and physical distancing as well. So we do remind this is something that you're keen to start, or to start up a new walking group, please do remind anyone that if they develop any symptoms within 48 hours of the walk, to obviously apply for the test and support the NHS and contact tracing if requested, but also not to attend the walk just in case, and to protect themselves and everyone else around them. Some of you may have some questions regarding walk leader training. At the minute, their guidance is that the training is suspended at the moment, but we're working on something that might be able to accommodate anything on a more local level.
Thank you. Just a reminder to use the Q&A if you want to ask any questions specifically to any of us. That tab is there. So today we are going to be talking through a resource that people may have seen. This is a resource that was created with some colleagues over in Manchester, working with groups of older people themselves, about how to keep well whilst at home and how to keep active in the home. We did some work to amend this to a local Leeds version, and we ordered printed copies. These went out through the food distribution hub in the council to people who were shielding and receiving food parcels through the post. We also made some available to some of the services to collect some of these. We have now done another order of these, so we've ordered another 5,000 copies. They would normally be at the Public Health Resource Centre for people to collect, however that's not open at the moment. They are available to download on the Public Health Resource Centre website, so we can send a link at the end. You can go and print copies, download them, print them, and give them to people, or have a look if you're working with somebody and you've got a screen available. The new copies that we've ordered, we are expecting delivery any day now. As soon as we've got those, we'll be able to get in touch with everybody on this call or who registered for this webinar to tell you how to get hold of physical copies if you don't have the ability or the facilities to print them. So in a nutshell, there will be more copies available. You will be able to collect them to give out to your service users. Just the original resource was written specific for COVID. What we've done is to future-proof this, is to take all reference of COVID out of this, so you won't see any mention of COVID in it. So this is a resource that you can continue to use if you're working with anybody in the community who is staying at home or is unable to get outside for whatever reason to participate in activity. So Rachel and colleagues are going to talk through some of these, some of the content of this and some of the videos that go alongside this. What we didn't want to do is create a resource telling people how to be active at home without the additional support of a demonstration. So I'll hand back over to Rachel if that's okay.
That's no problem, thank you very much. So as Rachel said, the resource not only looks at physical activity but also the mental health side of things as well. So obviously it's by keeping your mind busy, especially during this time, though it wasn't for this purpose, but it's good to sort of keep our mind sort of busy at this time anyway. It has it provides helpful tips to keep your mind busy and to keep in touch with close family and friends, but also to take that time for yourselves as well, because that's obviously very important. It helps as it provides an opportunity to set yourself goals, so whether it be short or long-term goals as well. It could be helpful to those who you work closely with, and to be mindful of their current situation and how we might be able to support them. So as Rachel says, that there is a copy of, obviously, on the Public Health Resource Centre COVID pages, and they have lots of useful information and other resources on a variety of topics, including mental health. So there are other services out there if you require additional support. So for me, the slide just in front of yourselves, hopefully you can all see, is a really key area of resource. It provides information on how to prepare yourself for doing exercise, and like some of the people you might be working with, they may not be aware of these, or perhaps having a phone nearby just in case if you might have a slip or a fall, you might start to feel slightly unwell. You could either ring a family member or ring a neighbour to come and assist you. Drinking lots of water before and after exercise, again, that's really key. We need to keep ourselves really hydrated. Again, it doesn't really, I would always recommend that even if it's a lower intensity exercise, to please always keep water nearby and make sure that you stay hydrated the entire time. What to wear, again, we're not encouraging anyone to buy the new latest gear and the new Lycra gear. It's obviously it's clothing that you're comfortable in, especially sort of sensible shoes as well. Again, just for balance. It is also good for them to know that if they experience some slight discomfort during exercise, as they may be using parts of the body that are a little stiff or it's something that they're not used to doing. However, if this starts to feel more painful, then it's they need to recognise that the exercise is perhaps not entirely for them, and maybe look to consult their GP. So Carol covers this really well in the next few videos that we're going to show. Hopefully technology does not fail us today. That's everything's crossed, fingers, everything's crossed. So the next few slides we will be showing the videos.
Hello, my name is Carol and I work for the Active Leeds Health Programmes team. As you are aware, it's important to keep your mind and your body active. If you keep physically fit and strong, your daily activities at home are much easier. There's lots of other benefits to exercise. It helps your mood, helps you sleep better at night, helps to control appetite, reduce the risk of falls and fractures, keeps your muscles strong, helps with any health conditions that you might have, heart condition, lungs, diabetes, stroke. It helps with those and certain cancers as well. Okay, so if you were at home and you're exercising, all you would need is a chair. Some of the exercises are seated, some are standing, using the chair for support. Most people don't need to consult the GP before they exercise. If you have health conditions and they're nice and stable and you've had no problems with them lately, that's absolutely fine to exercise. Almost everyone is safe to exercise. It's much safer than not moving at all. If you have any concerns at all though, please speak to your GP or your practice nurse before you commence any exercise. The warm-ups are there to build up to the exercise, so please do the warm-ups and the cool-downs as well. If you experience any pain or dizziness, please stop. Exercise shouldn't be uncomfortable. You should get mildly breathless and you should get warm and you should suffer a little bit of stiffness on the day after, but you shouldn't be in any pain. It may mean that you've just worked a little bit too hard if you're in any pain. One other thing, try not to hold your breath when you're exercising. It's very common that people hold the breath. Break the exercise down into small chunks. Just do a little bit a few times a day. Don't do it all in one go if you're finding it too tough. Do a little bit after breakfast, a little bit after dinner, a little bit after your tea, something like that. Try to get outside as much as you can. If you have a garden, please try and walk in the garden. It's important to get some natural light and some sunshine. Okay, if you're exercising alone, please make sure that you've got a telephone nearby in case you don't feel very well and you can contact a family member or someone like that. Always keep a glass of water nearby and make sure you've eaten before you exercise. And above all else, enjoy it.
So I'm going to move to the next video, but I'm conscious of time and I would like to the last video, I'm keen to go through that with yourselves in a bit more detail and might be slightly more relevant. So obviously you can see the next slide there, it says main exercises, and this is in a standing. My colleague Carol will take you through 4 exercises to do from a standing position.
I'm going to show you 4 exercises which you can do at home using a dining chair. The first one is sit to stand. If you start seated in a firm dining chair, I want you to make your way to the front third of your chair by hip walking. Hip walking is steady in the chair with your hands, lift one buttock, slide a little bit forward, then the other buttock, a little bit forward. So you finish on the front part of your chair, so there's a good gap between you and the chair back. I will show you sideways on in a little while. Try to adopt good posture at all times. Roll your shoulders back and then maintain that upright posture. Feet hip distance apart. Feet and knees pointing forwards. From there, I want you to slide your feet back a little bit, but still so that your heels are on the floor. If you need to use your hands on your legs to help you get up, feel free. If not, just let your hands hang at the side and then come up to rise. Give yourself a moment there just to make sure you don't feel dizzy, and then walk yourself back. Feel for the chair behind both legs, still keeping your feet as wide as your hips, and then slowly lower yourself down, pushing your bottom backwards so that you land right in the back of the chair. So I'll do that again, a hip walk to the front third of your chair. Still with a gap between your legs, good posture. Slide your feet back a little bit, but my heels are still down. And come to rise. Give yourself a moment. And slowly down. Try to keep that gap between your legs as you lower down. You might be able to reach the chair to steady yourself. May not, it depends on your chair. I'll show you from the side. So if I start seated, hip walk to the front third of the chair. Slide my feet back. If I want to use my hands to come up, that momentum will help to carry me up a little bit. Pause for a second and walk back. Gap between your feet, slowly lower down. So if you want to make it a little bit easier, slide your feet back, use your hands on your legs, or if you don't feel particularly steady that day, always do it in front of a dining table, then you've got something there to hold you if you feel unsteady. If you're wanting to make it a little bit harder, usual start position, feet back, no hands. And as you come back down, feel for the chair, lower your bottom towards the chair and go down slower. Even pause for a little while at one point for a couple of seconds and then down. Try to aim to do 10 if you can, maybe just starting with 1 or 2 if you've been inactive for a while, and just build it up and eventually you'll get to 10. Okay, the next exercise I'm going to show you is heel raisers. I want you to stand behind your chair. So your chair is there for support. Good straight posture again. Keep looking ahead at all times. Hands on the chair just for balance. Try not to lean on the chair. And I want you to slowly come up onto your toes, using your big toe and your second toe. And slowly down. So making sure that your feet are hip distance apart again. As you rise, make sure that you're going straight up and you're not putting the weight over the chair. The chair is there just for a bit of extra support. So slowly up, pause for a second, slowly down. If you're able to let go and you want to challenge your balance some more, let go altogether, or just one hand, one finger on one hand. Sometimes you just need the security of knowing that it's there. And again, aim for 10. If you want to make that one a little bit harder, up onto your toes, pause for a second, and as you lower down, just before you hit the floor with your heels, pause another second, and then go right to the floor. And as I say, try and build up to 10 if you can. Your next one from there, same position to start with, good posture, hip distance apart, using the chair just for support, is toe raisers. So this time you take the weight on your heels and slowly down. So when you're having that pause at the top, make sure you don't hold your breath. Keep breathing or in a normal manner. Lift your toes, keep tall and slowly down. This one you might be tempted to try and lift your toes more by pushing your bottom out. Try not to do that. It's not how high you lift your toes. It's about keeping that upright posture. It might be that your toes don't lift very high at all, if at all, they might not lift. But so long as you're activating the muscles in your lower legs, you will be doing some work. Okay, again, building up to 10 if you can. And your final one is marching. Holding onto your chair if you need to, with both hands, or maybe with one hand. And what I want you to try and do, keep looking forward. Try and speed it up if you can, for 30 seconds. If you need to hold on, hold on. You might find that you can let go altogether, but do keep behind your chair. Now you'll find that your heart rate's getting a bit faster and you're breathing a bit more heavily. That is normal, perfectly normal. Once you've done around 30 seconds, slow it down. Hold on if you need to. Try not to stop completely. It's just a steady march. When that 30 seconds rest is up, another 30 seconds of speeding it up. Holding on however you held on last time. Now those 30 seconds, I want you to try and do them 3 times if you can. Always remember not to stand completely still. Keep that good posture, looking forward. All these exercises improve your leg strength. This last one in particular improves your bone strength as well. And it increases your heart rate, which means that you can do your daily activities a lot more easily, you'll find, over time.
This is the last video, so hopefully you've made it this far with yourselves. So Carol breaks this video down, or if someone's had a fall, she breaks it down into manageable chunks, so it's easy enough to try and follow. Well, I say that, but it might not always be the case. So what I'll do now is, this video is about just over nearly 3.5 minutes. So again, I'll go on mute and let this play in the background. So feel free to press play now.
So, what happens if you've had a fall? Maybe you'll be strong enough to get yourself up off the floor, and if you are, do please tell the GP or a healthcare professional that you have had a fall. If you're not sure whether you can get yourself up off the floor, there's a couple of things you can do that might be helpful. The first one is try not to panic, try to stay calm. And then have a little think about your body, decide whether you've hurt yourself or not. If you've hurt yourself and you're not going to be able to attempt to get off the floor, you need to try and summon help. If you're wearing an alert, either on a wrist or a pendant, do get help that way. Or bang on the walls, shout for help, or even banging on a radiator. That seems to make a lot more noise. If you are on the floor, I'm going to show you a way that would be helpful to try and get you off the floor. So if you've fallen onto the floor and you're laid on your side, for example, use this top hand. Push into the floor, get your other elbow out. Now that'll take some effort, so you might have to pause at each part so that you get your breath back. When you're ready, push, so you've got your other hand on the floor as well, so you're working your way up a little bit. When you're ready to the next stage, push with your hands, come up onto your knees. Now you don't want to spend long in this position, not nice on your knees, but I want you to crawl, make your way towards a chair or the bed or something else secure. Now please make sure that it is safe against a wall or on a secure flooring. Now from there, one hand at a time onto the chair and up you pop. Now the next stage, I need you to bring your strongest leg forward. Maybe that you've got to drag the foot across the floor till you've got your foot in front there. Next part, take your body weight forward, good grip on the chair. Now if you're able to tuck those back toes under, it will be helpful. Push yourself up till you get to that stage. When you're ready, come up. You might want to walk one hand at a time up your legs. It'll bring you up more slowly. If you've been on the floor for quite a while, you might be dizzy at this stage and you might have to stop for a minute. When you're ready, turn yourself round. And then feel for the chair behind the backs of your legs, making sure you can feel it behind both legs. You may be offset, you may be disorientated, and you might just feel it behind one leg and you end up on the floor again. So both legs, push your bottom back, feel for the chair, land as far back as you can. Okay, so you might find that if it's winter time, it's worth having a cushion and a blanket, maybe behind the settee or in different rooms, so that if you did fall and you couldn't get help straight away, you could cover yourself up, keep yourself warm and keep yourself comfortable.
That video as well, I made it to the end. As we sort of said at the start, that Carol gives a really good sort of video there that presents and provides such a really good sort of step-by-step demonstration. Again, this video also will be sent to yourselves afterwards. So within the resource, you'll see the sort of the slide on your screen at the moment. And basically what Carol's done is broken down each image and provided a little bit more detail from the video. So I'm sure you'll sort of pick up on some of the sort of helpful tips that Carol has provided as well. Again, so that one will be in the resource. So again, what we've done here is just provide a bit more information on some other areas or services that you might wish to know a bit more about. So we've got one called Movers and Shakers, and this is part of our Get Set Leeds campaign. So it is a partnership of people from all over the city who want to play a part in making Leeds a more active city. So over the past few months, sort of previous to COVID, we've gathered thousands of ideas from people from all communities across the city, and sort of putting them together to create more opportunities, more physical activity opportunities, but not always focusing on physical activity. It might be something else. So at the minute that we're in the sort of the stages of creating and building and putting this all together. So a mover and shaker is something that's come out of this. So these are individuals and people with great ideas for change that can get everyone in Leeds moving just that little bit more. As a mover and shaker, you will have the opportunity to tell others about the great things that are happening across the city, and when you can get active, and what you can share the benefits of being active, so improved health, better well-being, and connecting with others. You'll have the opportunity to share Get Set Leeds info via the social media pages and all the channels in your local area, because we've got sort of Facebook groups set up in local areas. So what we can do following today is that we can send the link to the website, and you can look to whether that be register yourself or any other individuals that might be keen on being a mover and shaker. So we've also got just below that, you might see the 30-day walking challenge. So this is between Leeds Rhinos and Leeds United Foundation, and this is aimed at people looking to get more active in a safe way and to explore local areas. The challenge, it's a bit of, as you can see, it's a 30-day challenge that started at the start of this week, just on Monday. So there still is an opportunity to register. Again, it is just challenging people that might not be as physically active during this time as they would like to be. But again, the two foundations have put this campaign together. So it's 3 different levels ranging for different targets. So you've got level 1, which would be 6,000 steps a day. Level 2 would be 8,000 steps a day, and level 3 would be 10,000 steps a day. Obviously, encouraging this to be done in a safe and effective environment as well. If you're keen to register, again, we will sort of send the links at the minute. The last day for registrations will be tomorrow, so I will send the link out today. So again, apologies if it's a bit sort of last notice and you might be aware of everything there. We will sort of send that out afterwards. I'm just going to signpost to Sharon and Rachel again, just to cover a couple of those other further information topics. Sharon and Rachel, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. So we wanted to sort of let you know about some other apps that have been developed to prevent falls, but also focused around improving strength and balance for individuals. So the Keep On Keep Up app, we refer to it as COCO. That's an app that was designed by links with Manchester and Later Life Training Resource, which is the PSI training, strength and balance training that we deliver in Leeds in 20-week programmes. But what the app actually does is allow people to individualise their needs within it, and it looks at their level of ability and provides some exercise instruction, as well as nutritional advice and things to consider around the home. And you can record progress on that app, programs, as you improve your strength and balance. It's been particularly good for use in care homes with residents of care homes, and it's only available at the moment on the Apple Store. But what we've been doing is, as part of the 100% digital project, we've been providing loan devices and loading up the app onto the devices, because it's been made free for the duration of COVID. Later Life Training have also developed some Make Movement Your Mission during lockdown. These are available on YouTube, and again, we'll have links to all of these on the slides when we issue them. And these are they're sort of bite-sized strength and balance activities that people can access and they're delivered 3 times a week, but you can view them sort of in between. And then the final one is Move It or Lose It, which again, it's similar to the Strength and Balance programmes, but when it's delivered in groups, it's actually done to music, but it's designed to be as more of a preventative for falls rather than people that have already been experiencing falls. So it's for people that are quite mobile already. And during COVID, they've developed an app that's called Get Up and Go, which is to support rehabilitation of people who've been immobile for long periods. It's linked to the work around hospitals to prevent PJ paralysis is what we call, and these exercises can be done in bed or in a chair. So they're really useful resources that you can signpost people to for the digital side. Obviously, whilst we've got limitations with the face-to-face delivery that we can give, it's useful to have lots of different things that you can engage people with and encourage them to use. Okay, and back to you, Rachel. I think that covers all of it.
I don't know which Rachel, so I'll take it over me. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you very much. So the last slide, this is the last page in the resource that we've been talking about. You probably can't see some of the detail on here, but we just wanted to list some local services that people might want to, or helpful contact information around sort of healthy living services and other services supporting people less mobile or older. So I won't go through each of them. And I've also just popped up there a bit of a reminder about the Home Plus Leeds service. Sharon, I don't know if you've got, I'm just looking at time, if you can explain Home Plus Leeds in maybe a minute?
Yeah, so Home Plus is a service that provides minor adaptations to prevent falls around the home, and it also supports the discharge from hospital for people. So things like grab rails, handrails, stair rails, risers for toilet seats. So if we've got individuals that we've got concerns about that may be at risk of falls, that service can go out and provide an assessment. And I'm pleased to say that where the contractors have actually been working all the way through COVID and still been delivering those interventions. So, yeah, if we've got anyone that's at risk of falls, please access that service, and it's a really positive one. That's it.
Perfect. Done it within a minute. Thank you so much to our speakers for today. I've just had a look on the tab and there aren't any questions that anybody has written. So in the next 5 or 10 minutes, if anybody wants to use the chat function or the question and answer function to ask a question, please remember this is your opportunity to ask directly to the skills and the expertise we've got today. I did have one question before we started today, which is aimed really at Joe. So Joe in the Community Falls Service, and this was from somebody who worked with somebody who was worried that they'd had a fall and they weren't keen on mentioning it to a GP. So they were just interested to find out what might happen if somebody talks to a GP that they've had a fall. Joe, I don't think you're on mute. Are you able to come in and answer that?
I can, yeah. Obviously, it's advisable to speak to the GP because it could be that is not the first fall that somebody's had, and it might need further investigations. But the GP can be that coordinator in terms of determining whether further investigations are needed, or signposting referrals through to community services where somebody can have a falls risk assessment at home, looking at what exercise programmes, environmental issues there are, so supporting that person through looking at the different risk factors for why they're falling and then what advice and interventions might be appropriate.
Perfect, thank you. I can just see a few people are using the chat function now. If anybody's got any burning questions, like I say, it's our opportunity while we've got presenters here to answer those questions. Sometimes on webinars we get inundated. So there is a question on the Q&A. So from Julie Skelton to say, can you tell us what activities have restarted at the leisure centres that you talked about, please, Rachel? And then we have got another question. We're okay to stay on this call after 11. It's not going to kick us out, so I will continue with these. But so the first question, I'm assuming, is to Rachel and Carol. Which activities have restarted at the leisure centres that you've listed, please?
No problem. So Carol, you might be able to sort of give me a bit of a hand with this one as well. So at the minute, the gym facilities, from what we're led to believe, is the only thing that has opened up at the moment. We are aware, obviously, with government guidelines, that the pools might be able to open in the coming sort of weeks. But again, I don't want to sort of say that's a definite happening on that. Myself and Carol sort of at the minute we don't have any sort of activities planned for older adults at the moment. It's just activities we've been doing in the outdoor activities. Carol, have I missed anything or?
No, just mainstream classes are started, but nothing for older adults or people specifically with health conditions, but certain classes, not a lot.
And is there a good way that people could keep in touch and find out more? Is there a social media page to follow that will have updates when things open?
Yeah, the social media page or the Active Leeds app is quite a good way. There are still some live classes that people can do in the home, different levels as well, lower level classes. But that does have all the information on around different centres opening and what classes are available. All the classes do need to be booked in advance, either on the app or over the phone to the leisure centre. There's still 3 this week. I think they start to bring in a cost from next week, as well as the outside activities as well, but that's for the leisure centre only.
Perfect, thank you. Question from Shabana. How can we obtain copies of Keeping Well at Home resource? We have ordered them. As soon as they arrive in Leeds, we will be promoting through our usual channels. We'll also send an email specifically to this group to detail how you can get hold of them. I'm sorry I don't have any more information now. It's just that they've not arrived, so we just need to find somewhere to store them. They are available to download on the Public Health Resource Centre website, and they will be available at the Public Health Resource Centre when it opens. But in the meantime, we're getting some help from Active Leeds, so we will be in touch with when you can get hold of physical copies. There's a comment from Pauline in the chat to say it was interesting about assistance and help after falls. I know people I'm helping with booklets. No more tablets to loan. Can't use digital. Is there anything, Sharon, just in terms of tablet loaning? Because I know you talked about that. Just putting you on the spot.
There's been some additional funding provided to increase the programme and address some of the inequalities. I'm also looking into whether or not we can use some more of another pot of funding, but I'm just waiting for some feedback. So we are trying to get hold of more tablets so that we can increase that programme, because we know what the demand is across the city. So it's a case of bear with us. We are trying to get more investment into that. But as a system, they are keen to keep progressing the digital as well as the face-to-face stuff. But obviously the digital gives us that support if we go into, if we've got any breakouts or anything like that, and we're limited in terms of face-to-face, but we'll keep pushing that. I've just noticed there's a couple of other questions as well.
Oh, have I missed them? Oh, I didn't scroll down, I'm sorry. I'm doing a great job facilitating, sorry.
From Julie saying, are the falls team operating at the moment, i.e. going out to do assessments? Jo, are you able to...
Yeah, so from this week we are partially open. That's just part of a phased approach to getting the service fully reopened. So if there are referrals coming through from GPs, they will be triaged to the most appropriate service to meet the needs, depending on the urgency of that assessment required.
Thank you. Question as well. Sorry, I wasn't on the ball with that one. So question, would we need to have walk leader training to do a short local walk or stroll with a small number of older people? Okay, Rachel, is that something you could help with?
Yes, no problem. At the minute, obviously the walk leader training is suspended. We're working sort of with colleagues amongst ourselves to see if we can provide more guidance on shorter walks that might not necessarily require a qualified walk leader. So again, that might be something that I might need to sort of link up with yourself, Valerie, if that's okay. And when you're sort of thinking of starting that up, and maybe I could sort of touch base with yourself about that. But I hope that's okay, Valerie. I'll try and get your details after today.
Just in addition to that, so what we're trying to do is, because we're aware that lots of services would like to support, meet in a park and go for a walk rather than delivering an activity as they would do normally, we're going to come up with just some really easy, straightforward one-pager about some things to think about. So on the slide we talked about, like you said there, making it clear it's not a led walk, but all the things that you need to be thinking about to do your own risk assessment. So in addition to what Rachel's offered there, we will have a bit of a one-page things to think about that we're producing. I think someone's doing it this week. Do you think that's reflective of some of our conversations, Sharon?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. We know that certain neighbourhood networks and things are keen to start supporting people that have been shielding to get back out and about. So on the back of that need, we're trying to come up with something as a little bit of an interim. And I think that's because we've got to have the appreciation of if people have been stuck at home and haven't been very mobile, some of the additional risks that probably weren't there prior to lockdown. So yeah, we're trying to come up with something that is a supportive document, but recognising some of those extra things you might want to think about.
And we don't want to take away anybody's informal opportunity to go for a walk. We obviously just want to help people keep nice and safe, don't we? Thank you for that. So there's another question from Janet. So Janet's talking about Apple Watch, talks about supporting people with breathing before being active, asking people to stand up straight and hold in tummy muscles. Am I doing the right thing? I wonder, Carol or Joe, if there's anything you want to add to that, obviously without giving sort of personal clinical advice, if there's any overarching tips maybe.
I think the main thing is when somebody stands up, it's making sure obviously they're in a good posture before they start exercising, and obviously making sure that they've got their balance so they are doing the day before starting to get to do anything extra.
Yeah, breathing definitely. We think it's instinctive, but quite often we don't breathe efficiently and as effectively as we could do. So yeah, there's lots of resources out there to encourage people to breathe correctly as well, which can be done seated as well if somebody can't stand up. But definitely it's doing the right thing, Jonna.
Perfect, thank you. So I can't see any more. Oh, hang on, let's just scroll down. Oh, I can't see any more questions. So I just wanted to thank all of the presenters today for their time and answering questions, and also to thank everybody for their time to join us to go through some of this. We've said a few times, but we will send out links. Once this is available on YouTube, this can be shared with other colleagues. So if there's anybody who hasn't been able to access this today, or information that you missed and you want to go back to, we will make sure you can access this as a video, and we'll also be in touch with everybody about getting hold of the resource. They're likely to be delivered out to community hubs and third sector organisations, but you can download the resource that I've talked about. And then last reminder is the two videos that you watched. There are a whole set of videos, so if you are working with anybody in their own home and want to use the videos to give you that confidence, or to give somebody else that confidence of something to follow, they are Carol and her colleague talking people through things really, really clearly and effectively. So please do make use of those. I'll just open up to the other presenters if there's anything anybody would like to say to close. Deadly silence.
Yeah. Just to say thank you guys for your attendance today and for your questions. As always, really, it always feels really good after doing something like this. Again, and obviously we're not used to doing sort of delivery of sessions like this, but no, thank you for your attendance and for being really interactive with us today. Thank you.